Hello, my name is James, and I am diagnosed as autistic. I make weekly videos about autism and other related topics to help bring awareness, to help others, and to help us all reach our fullest potential. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, please subscribe. Well, in this video, I am going to talk about a common disorder that many people experience, including those on the autism spectrum, and that is ADHD. ADHD is a very common condition that is a notorious one indeed. This condition can make some people confuse whether people with ADHD actually have autism or people with autism might actually have ADHD, and many people actually have both. Many people don't give ADHD enough credit for how it can affect people in their lives and how it can sometimes be a struggle. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about what ADHD actually is and how it compares to autism. Okay, well, let's get started. What is ADHD? Well, ADHD, also known as Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, is a neurological disorder defined by the DSM. People who are diagnosed with ADHD struggle with inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Let's talk about these three things in detail. When people struggle with inattention, they often have trouble focusing, such as listening to a teacher in school, struggle to get their homework done due to their mind drifting, to do things captivating their excitement more than the homework. Some may struggle to keep a job because they miss important things that their boss tells them. When it comes to hyperactivity part of ADHD, the hyperactivity part causes people to feel restless, or they may have trouble sitting still. With impulsivity, folks exhibit impulsive behaviors like starting spontaneous projects, have creative ideas, or do things like interrupt people or take dangerous risks. ADHD has a comorbid condition, meaning some people with ADHD can have other neurological conditions too, such as autism, may be gifted, or may struggle with other things like OCD and depression. ADHD is an executive functioning disorder. Like people with autism, people with ADHD may struggle with managing tasks. This includes organization, meeting deadlines, and regulating their emotions. If you watch many of my other videos or are already familiar with autism, you might be wondering, hey, this sounds a lot like autism. ADHD does indeed seem to have very many similarities. However, when you look at these two conditions on a deeper level, there's actually a lot of things about autism and ADHD that make them very different. Also, both of these conditions affect people in different ways too. With that said, I am now going to talk about how ADHD and autism differ from each other. What is the difference between ADHD and autism? Well, the first thing that ADHD and autism differ is that people with ADHD desire and enjoy are similar to those that are neurotypical people that don't have any mental disabilities. The desires and things that they don't want are more extreme to a person with ADHD. Most neurotypicals enjoy doing enjoyable things like watching movies, playing video games, or listening to good music, and many would prefer to do that over having to do dishes or doing homework. However, for people with ADHD, these desires become more extreme to the point that they can be impulsive about it. For example, they may play video games to the point that they may end up not doing other things. Their motives towards doing other things may not be as strong, so it can be hard to switch tasks. They have what is called a motivation gap when it comes to doing things important, but may not be enjoyable. People with autism, on the other hand, may have interests that cross the board. Their interests may include some things that most people, such as neurotypicals and ADHD, do not like. Furthermore, the interest that autistic people have is so much across the board that it even makes each individual person with autism different from each other too. For example, one autistic person could be obsessed with frogs, while another autistic person could have an aversion to them and be obsessed with something else like cats, computers, or bottle caps. This can include different talents as well. One autistic person may be really good at math, while another autistic person may not be. When people say, if you've seen one autistic person, you've only seen one autistic person, this saying is completely true when it comes to how each and every autistic person significantly differs from each other when it comes to what they are interested in, what they are talented in. So people with ADHD tend to have the same kind of interests and talents as those that are typically neurotypical, while those with autism, on the other hand, have interests and talents that go all the way across the board. Another way that people with ADHD and people with autism differ is how they focus intensely. People with ADHD often focus intensely when it comes to something they enjoy, If they are trying to do homework, they could become easily distracted by the television and end up stopping their homework even though they know that the homework is important because the show that they find pleasurable or enjoyable has really captured their attention. As a result, a typical person with ADHD may become hyper-focused on that show to the point that they may binge watch the show all evening long and get completely distracted by their homework. A typical autistic person, on the other hand, will often focus intensely by hyperfixating. A person with autism may hyper-focus on something even if they don't enjoy it as long as they suddenly believe that it's something really important. For example, an autistic person may not want to do their homework just like a person with ADHD. The reason for them to actually hyper-focus on it is their ability to hyper-fixate. If a person with autism is made to believe that their homework assignment must be done or else there's bad consequences, then his or her fear might cause them to hyper-focus on the homework as a result of being obsessive wanting to get it done from the belief that it is important. Unlike a person with ADHD, an autistic person might find this homework assignment so important that that person will end up focusing on it where it becomes such a strong focus that they may not end up getting other things done like eating or sleeping. However, like an ADHD person, the autistic person may not enjoy the homework assignment either. However, the strong belief of its importance will help an autistic person have enough motivation to get it done, and thus jump that motivation gap that people with ADHD often struggle with. Maybe even too much motivation, unlike a person with ADHD where the motivation is really low. So in other words, an ADHD person will hyper-focus on something they enjoy, while an autistic person will focus on something that they believe is important. Another way people with ADHD and autism differ is how they get distracted. Both people with ADHD and autism get distracted easily, but the causes of the distraction can be quite different. An ADHD person will often get distracted if they are doing something, and they see or think of something else that they feel is more fun and enjoyable. This makes it hard to stay focused on the current task due to the impulsive desire of wanting to do other more enjoyable things instead. An autistic person, on the other hand, will get distracted if they are doing something and they'll suddenly see or think of something else they believe to be important. Again, the actual importance of what it is may not actually be correct or not be true, but if the autistic person believes that the thing that they're thinking about is important, then that specific thing will distract them. However, unlike an ADHD person where the enjoyment causes them to be impulsive, an autistic person will struggle ignoring that importance he or she believes that the other task will be. While I have talked about what ADHD is and how it is similar but also different when you compare it to people with autism, do you have ADHD as well as autism? If so, please share your experiences as to what it's like having both ADHD and autism. Tell us about how the ADHD part of your autism is different than the autistic part of your struggles. If you found this video helpful, please give this video a like and please check out some of my other videos about autism on my channel. Please stay healthy, safe, keep being informed, embrace your interest, and most importantly, love yourself because love is the way. Thanks for watching and have a great day.